morning, everyone, and welcome to Thursday's podcast. You are listening to Dr. Sharon Cook with Procuresmarter. It's a rainy day, and I'm going to try to tape this podcast without the sound of thunder and lightning. But if you do hear it, then let's consider it a little mood music for the morning. Today, we're going to talk to Mr. Bruce Ford, so stay tuned. Good morning, everybody. Today, we're going to talk to Mr. Bruce Ford of Lodging Econometrics. But before I share that interview, I want to share about what's happening in the shipping this week. My sources tell me that ports in California are operating at 60% capacity, and it is taking up to 3 weeks to dock and unload. Ports do not run all night, and they are closed on Sundays. Longshoremen only work 2 shifts, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. There is a top 24-hour pilot tested out of Long Beach Port, but that requires significant overtime, and paying that may not be a long-term solution, but has also been unable to run so far due to shortages of workers across the industry, including dock workers, truckers, and warehouse workers. And even if the truckers were available, where are all the goods going to go? Warehouse on the West Coast is at 98% capacity. Port of Long Beach Executive Director Mario Cordero said the industry is in a crisis mode. On Tuesday, the ports housed 144 ships, including 66 container ships waiting off the shore at anchor or in drift areas, according to the data from the Marine Exchange of Southern California. Before the pandemic, the ports typically saw an average of 0 to 1 ship waiting to dock, but now the ships wait weeks to unload. The cargo on the ships currently at anchor in the California ports, which include nearly half of all U.S. imports, will likely not be seen until the end of October or November, Brian Whitlock, a senior director and research analyst for Gartner, said on LinkedIn. Cordero told Fox Business he does not see consumer demand tapering until late next year as holiday demand, as well as companies' efforts to replenish inventory, continue to strain the global supply chain at a time when it is still combating COVID-19 shutdowns in Asia. That being said, be careful where you get your information. Some outlets are reporting 1,000 container ships floating at sea waiting to be unloaded, but Executive Director of the Marine Exchange of Southern California told U.S. Today that there were 153 ships of all types at both the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. Of those, 64 were at dock loading and unloading, 60 were at anchor, and 29 were adrift off the coast. This brings us somewhat up to date, so let's talk to Mr. Bruce Ford with the Lodging Econometrics. This was my first sit down with Bruce, and I did learn a lot. Bruce is known to be one of the nicest guys in the industry, and that is only secondary for his love of golf. Hi, Bruce.
Sharon, how are we doing today?
How are you?
I am super.
Nice. Well, thanks for doing this. I'm excited.
Me too. I think it'll be great.
I feel like I have known you forever, but I don't really know you.
Well, I think you're about to get to know me.
I am about to get to know you. Okay, so you have got to be one of the most well-traveled people in hospitality out there.
Actually, I spent 504 days at home from business trip to business trip. It was actually March 9th, 2020 is when I came home for the last time, and I didn't go on a business trip again till Alice.
Wow.
I did take a couple of personal trips in the middle of that. But again, just trying to get used to getting back to it. I guess I had to convince myself that if I could do it personally, then I could do it for business too.
Right.
And so one of those trips was a week in Disney World in low capacity with my grandchildren. catching up with it. We had delayed the trip 4 times during the pandemic.
Wow.
And we finally went in April 2021.
Nice.
And that was a great experience at low capacity, I got to tell you. Really
Well,
cool.
yeah, was it? I mean, I would imagine there's not a ton of people there, right? You kind of had the place to yourself.
Well, it was at 35% capacity. You may not even, most people wouldn't recognize this, but in the Magic Kingdom, capacity is 100,000 people just in the Magic Kingdom. So at 35%, you have up to 35,000. I don't think we ever saw that many. And nothing that we went to ride, if you will, where the line and the ride, nothing took more than 45 minutes between the line and the ride. So it was really quite a great experience to get to do it at such low capacity. It was a great decision. I was happy to do it. And probably the safest place out there at the time, as you were wearing masks even outside at Disney World. But
wow. Now you're very active on your social media, especially with your grandchildren. I see you and your grandchildren almost daily on social media.
I got a great blessing in that when my wife Paula and I got married 20 years ago, we celebrated this summer. She already had 16 and 17-year-old boys. So my grandchildren are 12, almost 7, and almost 2. And they live and I have another grandson who lives in Beacon, New York as well. But the 3 grandchildren live a mile away from me. So I get to spend a lot of time with them. And I am the grandpa, if you will.
Nice.
So they come over and I had to rename my man cave because I couldn't call it a man cave because my granddaughter came into my man cave. So I had to call it the Boat on the River Sports Club.
That's funny.
Could no longer be the man cave.
That's
But
awesome.
I really do enjoy a lot of my free time with my grandchildren, and I love being a grandparent. And if you ever hear the story of grandparenting is so much fun, you wish you did it first.
Yeah.
I'm happy to say that I did get to do it first. So it was
That
great.
That's awesome. I have yet to have grandkids, but I am on grand watch. I just want one child. I have 3 grown adults, and every day I'm like, okay, anytime now you can bless me with a grandchild. I'm ready.
You're ready? Okay. And I got to tell you, it's a great experience, and I enjoy that. And I actually, my 4th grandson or grandchild was born on February 29th, 2020. He was a leap day baby, and he will forever mark kind of the very beginning of the pandemic for all of us. And he's now 18 months, almost 19 months. So
that'll be crazy when he gets older, right? To hear you were literally born at the start of the pandemic.
yeah. He's about to start talking too, so I can't wait to hear what he talks about for the first time.
So you had all this time. I don't want to say it's free time, but for somebody who's used to being a road warrior, what did you do with all your time at home?
Well, we probably kind of had an employee less office, except for just a couple of my brothers, actually, a couple of my brothers. The company kind of closed down the office for probably about 2 months. And then we began to make it available with new protocols to staff. And so for an extended period of time, I got to go into the office, but I was home for really about 2 months working in my my man cave at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But what was a great benefit was that for the 2 years prior to the beginning of the pandemic, we had launched new software at Lodging Econometrics. And so as a result of that software launch, we really had to go train and reorient and relaunch with some 2,000 users across the world. So as a result of that, I did more online meetings in the 2 years leading up to the pandemic that really did help me during the pandemic, because I was very used to running online meetings and meeting people virtually. It had become almost old hat, where a lot of people struggled with that at the beginning of the pandemic, because it was
Right.
easy for me.
The whole world was trying how to learn Zoom and how to run a business from a home office, and you already had a jump start on it.
I did. So we were lucky. And honestly, during the pandemic, lodging econometrics really did pretty well because no one could meet anybody. Everybody needed leads and opportunities because you couldn't collect them in the same way that you used to by going to conferences or doing business travel because no one was seeing anybody.
Right.
So we really were able to run through that hole in opportunity, if you will, and really provided a lot of enhanced services to our clients to help them stay in the business of being in business and getting back to sales, and how to plan strategically for what the differences is with the types of people that are going to buy your products, and what the differences are with the type of people that are looking for your products. And so lots of challenges. And I could certainly write a book, but really worked it through with my two brothers who joined me in the business, and the 40 other people that work for us. We fought through it, and we did pretty well during the pandemic.
All right. Well, this is a perfect segue. First of all, let me ask you, you have mentioned it now. This is a family business, right? You work with your brothers.
I do. And unfortunately, we lost our CEO this year. My dad passed away, but we have collectively continued on. And so my two brothers, JP Ford and Tim Ford, work with me at LE, and then we have some 40 other staffers, a mix between research and marketing and analytics. But we started Lodging Econometrics in 1998. We published our first report about hotel development in the United States. And in 2008, we published our first global hospitality report. And we have now taken our database online and offer some 130,000 individual hotel property and project records containing about 150 fields of information on those hotels across the world.
Okay, so let me ask now. This is going to be a very short question to what I'm sure is a very long answer, but do your best for me. If somebody is just introducing to the word econometrics and lodging econometrics,
Yep.
what is the service that you provide? Well, I know it's report generating, and I have a general overview of what you've got, but you tell me, what are you doing out there?
Well, primarily, we're a business development consultant for the hospitality industry. So we not only help your salespeople in the field with projects that you could sell your wares to, or projects that you could sell your services to, but we also help you strategize about who are the companies that you should be working with in the business that you may not be, whether those are owners or management companies or franchise company contacts, brand company contacts. So in a simplistic way, maybe in the past you would have hired a hospitality sales professional that had a big Rolodex of contacts because, well, that's how it was done. You hired a professional who knew a lot of people so you could sell more product. Today, I can hand any professional sales person the handbook for how to enter the hospitality industry in any market in the world. So for a sales manager, it really makes a difference because they can manage from a position of knowing everything and knowing the potential, rather than waiting for the potential to come to them based upon somebody's success in working their contact list.
Right.
So it's a very big juxtaposition change, if you will. Never really been available in hospitality, but our details are just as good on projects and properties as they are with contacts.
Right.
And in many cases, at the ownership and management company level, we can deliver who's in design, who's in construction, who's in procurement, and we track 6 different project team members on every project out there in the world. So we've been able to maintain it during the pandemic because of our research methodology, which is different from some of our other competitors, if you will. Lodging econometrics takes a very top-down theory on research, and it starts with many of the brands and franchise companies by verifying their pipelines and their executed agreements not yet open every 30 days.
Mhm.
And then we do further research on that information to really mature up to 150 fields of information on each property or project. So it makes it quite easy if you're preferred for a brand, or if you're in position to succeed on particular types of hotels. We can really serve you that information in a timely manner so that you can get every opportunity to make that sale.
Right. So that's it. So I was talking to Drew Murray just recently, and one of the things we talked about was, people looking at you as a sole provider of contact. Like that is your whole value, that you bring contacts to the table.
Mhm.
So you really take that piece out and allow people like me to do other things and not just be the source of contacts.
Correct. Yes, it allows you to really focus in on sales and say, these are the targets. If somebody was writing a business plan for you, they would say, well, you ought to call every owner that has 10 or more hotels. I can deliver all the contacts at those ownership companies across the country.
So it sounds like I need to meet with you offline.
Yes, absolutely. This is the type of thing, it's, if you have a big sales force of 20, 30, 40 people, I can absolutely fulfill to their desktop their business plan for each one of those 30 or 40 people, and can boil it down to just one or two or three people doing prospecting.
Right.
And we say we're a la carte, if you will, that you can pick and select how you'd like to approach the marketplace, and we help you through our more than 60 years at the senior level of hospitality experience. We can really help you devise a good plan.
Well, something that, I'm a new business owner. I started Procuresmart, which is a purchasing agency, but something that I found frustrating that was my own doing is, over the course of the last 2 years, contacts have changed. People have left, people have come, businesses have gone bankrupt, and new businesses have started. And so, when I started diving into my own personal collection of contacts, probably 40% of them were no longer good.
Yep. Well, that's a big challenge. Okay. Of course, there were furloughs, there were layoffs, there were, in some cases at some companies, permanent positions eliminated.
Right.
And everybody's rethought exactly how they want to not only run their hotels, okay, they've rethought how they want to invest their money. And many owners and management companies out there in the industry today are investing again, okay, and are putting money back into their portfolio first, because they're seeing renovations as the best return on investment today. Because with renovations, you can time the project out a little bit better. It's easier to renovate a hotel when nobody's there, or when less than everybody is there, if you will.
Right.
And not necessarily as interested in investing in new construction. So if you have a typical owner management company, like let's say at the beginning of the pandemic, they had 10 new construction projects in the pipeline. They probably still have some new construction projects in the pipeline. Let's just use 3 or 4 projects as a sake of argument. But they may be taking the dollars for those other projects and pushing that back into their portfolio, considering renovation at those hotels, considering brand conversions at those hotels, and in some cases, even considering being a buyer and a seller in this marketplace.
Right.
So it's really been very busy for those hotel owners and management companies, simply because they are really looking for that return on investment, and they're not afraid to churn those investments even in this time that we're in.
Right. And I believe that is kind of what I am seeing on my side as well, that little by little renovation dollars are coming. I've been asked to quote out a conversion. So I'm hopeful that we are moving into a time period where work is going to pick up for all of us.
Well, as a supplier of services or a supplier of products, you should be the business mix, if you will be shifting to probably 8 out of 10 of your projects should be at an existing piece of real estate, where it might have been 50-50 at the beginning of the pandemic. So there's definitely been a shift there. And that's economics, but it's also because of the pandemic, but it's also because, we built a lot of hotels 7 to 10 years ago, you might remember.
Right.
And many of those hotels have delayed that first big renovation because of the pandemic. So there's a pent up demand. And our expectation at LE is that we will be running 20 to 25% above the long-term average of annual rooms that are renovated in the industry, probably running somewhere around 350 to maybe 380,000 rooms per year will be renovated this year, next year, and probably into 2023 as well.
Well, that is great news. I mean, coming from a small business owner, that is really good news.
Yeah. And it's so you said it earlier about the contacts changing. That's one of the big challenges. So many owners and management companies, because they've shifted to that renovation program, in many cases, they've taken some of those design and procurement jobs in-house because people are available. Okay. Where you might have gone to get assistance from Marriott corporate and purchasing and things like that, that assistance isn't there anymore.
Right.
Okay, because those jobs are non-revenue jobs inside of a franchise company. So there's definitely a window for you, Sharon, and I think that we could really help you.
Well, listen, we will have more conversations. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit outside of work. So I see you at the trade shows. I know what you do, but what do you like to do with your free time? Are you a golfer? Do you read? Like, other than your grandchildren, what do you like to do out there?
Well, I am a golfer. I've been on the injured list this summer a little bit. There's a balky shoulder, but I'm ready to get back at it. We're going to a conference in a couple of just 10 days now, I guess, the lodging conference in Phoenix coming up very soon. So I'll golf at that tournament, which will be probably my third and fourth time golfing this year. And I really do like golf, but I'm a sports fanatic. My man cave has 100-inch projection television in there. And I just did some additional renovations. So any game that's on, I'm watching it, whether it's soccer or golf or football or basketball. Hockey probably ranks at last, but
oh no, I love hockey.
Well, I like hockey. And I now have a TV that's big enough that I can actually see the puck. So that kind of helps.
Right.
But I'm also, just very passionate about family and being close. I have all of my brothers and my sister all live within a very close proximity here on the seacoast of New Hampshire, and that's still a number one in my book.
Yes, of course. I think the pandemic has done anything positive, it has really tightened the family unit. If you like your family.
That's true. That's not for everybody.
Right.
But it's really given us an opportunity. I mean, and it had its own gifts. I mean, the fact I've been able to be here for the last 18 months to raise my grandson a mile away from me it's just been a gift I may never have gotten.
Right.
Very
okay.
Cool.
So you mentioned lodging conference. This morning, I just registered for BDNY. Will you be going?
Well, I'm hopeful that the BDNY trade show will happen.
Right.
Okay. And if it does, I will be there in New York. You can bet on that. I am a little bit uncertain about some of the, mandates that are in place, because those mandates that are in place in New York are not going away. And it is very much around vaccination and masking. And I just, I'm still a little uncertain as to how that will play with some of the constituency that would typically go to BDNY. I mean, at the end of the day, Sharon, many design and architecture offices in New York are still closed.
Right.
People are still working from home.
Yeah.
So if they're not getting on the metro to come into the city to go to work, they're going to get on the metro to come into the city to go to a conference.
That's true. That's true.
I don't know. I really want to feel like it's possible. Of course, I went to HD Expo in Las Vegas about a month ago,
Yeah.
and I found the show to be successful, although in a smaller format, because it had significantly less booths. But the attendance was well within reason, and actually probably more people than they anticipated. But it was different. It's still different to see people after all of this time, and to be safe about it is obviously yet another thing. So I will be there, Sharon. If it is God's will, I will be there.
I did not go to Vegas, and it's interesting because when I was making my travel plans, and I had to, it really came down to go or don't go.
Mhm.
I wasn't sure of the turnout for one. Like, was it going to be worth the dollar spend?
Mhm.
And two, I just wasn't sure if I was ready to be in that crowd.
Mhm.
But for some reason, I'm feeling hopeful about BDNY, and I really appreciate the mandates in place. So I'm thinking it might be a safe atmosphere.
I think it will be safe. I believe that everything we were doing in Las Vegas was safe. I guess it's all up to how far you want to go with, wearing a mask all the time, and, keeping your social distance from people, and getting used to that again.
Right.
We got a few month reprieve as the vaccination rates climbed at a very rapid rate in the spring. Many of these mandates came down, and we're here back beginning school again, and many of them are going back up.
Right.
And unfortunately, we haven't kicked the pandemic yet, but I am hopeful that we can safely do some of this potential business travel here as we go forward. I've taken um, 3 business trips to this point. I'll take another one next weekend for the lodging conference, and then we'll sit back and see what we see about November.
Right.
If I can safely do a trip and accumulate enough people I can visit, I might consider doing those in the fourth quarter. I'd be excited to get back to that. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
My business travel to this point has been to just conferences at this point, conferences and expositions. So I think that would be another step, to be able to do some city travel. And of course, my experience tells me that, some places are safer than others. Some places are more open than others. When you talk about manufacturers, unfortunately, you can't manufacture your product from your home office.
Right.
So many of these facilities are open and will take meetings, but the hotel companies, not as much. Not all of them are. Certainly, so the work from home, and so it's a little mixed. But when you go visit clients and you go visit new clients, you can do both the in office and the social type of meetings that really is relationship building, which would be the whole reason to go. It's been so long since you get to see many of those people you are in relationship with, and there could be some great solidifying meetings. So if we can do it, I'm willing to do that too.
I agree. I am a creature that I love the networking. I love the interaction. I like seeing people and talking to them and digging into their personal history. And I won't say that I'm lonely, but I am ready to get back out there. I'm ready to travel and meet people and go to lunch and do trade shows and go to the factories. I am more than ready.
Yeah. So you just got to practice.
Yes.
That's the thing. And you just got to practice. So, I mean, taking, maybe a day trip to go see a potential client, or taking a day trip to visit some factories. You're in good proximity to quite a few manufacturers in the South, and maybe that's what you need to kind of kick the rust off, if you will.
Well, I think so. I'm being asked all the time, what does U.S. manufacturing look like right now? Can we bring stuff stateside? So I'm really looking forward to like tipping my toe in the water and going out there and seeing who is manufacturing stateside and getting in and talking to them.
Yep. And, I think that's the challenge with every single operator out there. And, you talked about supply chain issues in one of your previous podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly bringing supply chains to the continent with which you want to put your property or project, I think is something everyone is kind of looking at as to mitigate some risk and potential time delay.
We are. I think everybody has the same thought. Unfortunately, that's the downside. Everybody has the same thought. So if you are a manufacturer out there and you're producing stateside, you're probably backed up. Your lead times are probably just as long. So,
Yeah.
you
And
know,
Sharon wants to talk to you.
Sharon,
She
if you're
wants
out
to
there, call me. I
she
want to
wants
talk to you.
she wants to talk to you. She wants to bring you on the podcast. She wants to talk about a lot of these issues. And Sharon, it's been a true pleasure to support you today. I'm excited for your new endeavor here, and I'm wishing you great success.
Thank you very much, Bruce. I am very grateful for your time. You have been listening to Procure Smarter with Dr. Sharon Cook. Procure Smarter is a podcast who aims to share what is happening in the buyer supplier sector and hospitality. If you would like to discuss what fun and interesting things your company or design agency is doing, then please reach out to me on LinkedIn, Instagram, or email me at sharon@procuresmartco.com. If you'd like to sponsor a podcast, then please reach out to me. We have very creative solutions to getting your name out there. If you like this podcast, please share among your friends and colleagues. We'd be very grateful for your support.